What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Behind the Booth. DJ Julz here. If you guys didn't see our mix, check it out right here. Fire. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate you. We have DJ Myster in the building. My brother, what's Gucci, man? Yo,
thank you
for
appreciate
my
you.
man crossed the waters to come here today.
So good, man.
Yeah, bro.
Promise is a promise. Bro.
Yeah, no. So this is a long overdue. We actually met at Scam Summer a few years ago.
We did.
Connected, you know what I'm saying? And definitely a cool guy. So definitely wanted to bring him in to see what we can get busy with. So like I said, yo, check out the mix. Fire. Yo, Myster, let's take it back from crate days, man. From the crate days.
Okay.
So you're of the era, started on vinyl.
I did.
Started on the vinyl first. And so that was their era of having to go to the record shop, doing that. Do you miss that experience of going to the shops to find certain records or singles?
Well, I gotta be honest with you. The majority of the times it was more the record labels. Mm-hmm. I used to go to the shops once in a while when I wanted some certain reggae rhythms, because back, in the mid '90s, late '90s, it was all about rhythms, and I used to grab the shop. I used to go to shouts to Rock and Soul, by the way. So I used to go there, but before then it was always the labels. I was always, every weekend through the week, I would make my phone calls and network with everybody from the record labels, and big shout outs to everybody that definitely supported me back in the days and definitely opened doors for me and, supplied me with the material. It was every week grinding, picking up vinyls on Fridays, walking around from label to label, street to street, and Mid-Ave, 50th, 42nd, all that district, just grabbing all music as much as I could, and that's how I picked up my vinyl. And yeah, I do miss it. Do I miss I you know what I didn't like? It wasn't easy because it was a hassle, walking around all day long, going label to label and literally carrying vinyl. People look at me crazy, but I was grinding, you know what I mean? That's just how I was brought up, you know what I mean? This is how I learned, and I've met so many DJs and I want to say record executives from just literally walking into the Sony building or the Warner Brothers or whatever, you know what I mean? RCA, Loud Records back in the day, so, yeah.
Yeah, and also during that time, like, you had to have money to do it. It wasn't like you could just download it right now. You had to save up your money to be able to afford the vinyl, especially if you want doubles, things like that.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, doubles wasn't cheap. You know what I mean? Because it had to be a real good song in order for you to be like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna grab two of these, and boom, 9 each, $16. You know what I'm saying? And then
that's a quick
one rhythm out of 20 rhythms. So now you have to pick the best out of the best, because you're like, yo, it's not cheap.
It's not cheap.
You know what I mean? So I would save back in the days, I was a little kid, I was like, I would save my bread and my cookies, my cookie jar. I'm like, okay, what do I have for this week? Or, but I was working part time, and I was a DJ. You know what I mean? And I was doing me, and that's how we just gained. But like I said, the majority was the record labels.
So when did you start DJing? Like, what got you into it?
Good question. What inspired me to DJ? So I was a little kid. I was I'm gonna say 12 years old, maybe even younger. I remember I used to stay in Flatbush in Brooklyn. Well, no, let me rephrase that. In Ocean Avenue in Brooklyn, and I met the Super Son. He was my friend, and out of my building, and he introduced me to. He said, yo, come through, I want to show you what I have. I said, he introduced me to 2 turntables and a mixer, and then he started doing some crazy things with Run DMC, the records, the original records. Remember the Suck MC record?
Yes.
So he would jump on that and doing, just doing some 80s vibes with some turntables and some just vinyl that I have never heard. So I was like, okay, this is fly. I was like, what is this? You know what I mean? And then that was the art of DJing. And then I seen him, and it caught my attention, caught my eye, and it drifted me that route to go, you know what I mean? And that's how I learned little by little. I said, you know what, maybe one day. And I started playing my own music, because I was from the era that a lot of us, like, I used to record off the radio, put a tape,
I did
a
that
little
too,
tape
man.
in there. Listen, what is that? Or like, we would put it on the tape, like, okay, this is dope, you know what I mean? Let's check it out. But and from there I just started doing me, and then I would save my lunch money just to buy records. You know what I mean? I was a little kid though. You know what I mean? And until I got introduced to certain people out of a record pool, and back then there was literally a record pool that you would go, and if you wanted to become a member, you would literally have to know people and be DJing in the club. And I was fortunate enough, like I knew certain people, and they brought me in, and then I started collecting my vinyl. You know what I mean? But I had to pay fees. It wasn't cheap.
Oh yeah.
We was looking at like back, what was it, $225 a month?
Wow.
But I would stack up my vinyl like crazy. Wow. You know what I mean? And then after that, like I got introduced to, when I started getting introduced to the record labels, that's when every Friday was, okay, boom, I would get my vinyl for free,
Wow.
the 12 inches, the press kits, the white labels, what
white
I mean,
labels,
before they come in, even some Bad Boy Biggie joints, on white press, what I mean, I still have those, what I mean, it's been a blessing.
Wow, that's awesome. And then even from doing that, how'd you get into like the club scene, or like how was your transition from, you started DJing, did you start doing privates first, or did you just jump into nightlife?
So as a little kid, it's funny you say that. I literally I did my first birthday party when I was a little boy, and then as I hit 8th grade, I literally did my school parties.
Whoa.
I was in 8th grade, and I had like small equipment, but I had speakers and everything, and like I was fortunate enough to have family that would, be like, okay, we're gonna meet you halfway, but you gotta work this and that. So I said, okay, I'll do, let's go. So I would, help out whatever I could, and I would save my money, and then I bought equipment, and then after that, I did my 8th grade party, and from there, I just started learning about music and records and all that, and then, but I wasn't, I was a little kid. I wasn't, but I knew I loved music, so I would put my ear to the streets, put my ear to listens to the radio, you know what I mean? Watch and listen to vibes with different type of DJs. Back then it was definitely so different. The majority was on radio because I couldn't really go out. But I would go to the basketball court. My older cousins were there, and they would bump Red Alert on the radio. You know what I mean? So I'd be like, who is this guy? Or Chill Out, if I'm not mistaken. And I got to learn from that, you know what I mean? My older cousins, they were vibing, and then I would watch what moves them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what you say, and that's how you learn how to, beginning of so-called reading crowd, you know what I mean?
No, you're right.
So, but what was the other part of your question you mentioned?
Did you start doing nightlife first, or did you go into privates?
So, back to nightlife. So I started my nightlife literally when I was 18 years old.
Okay.
I got hired. So when I was a boy, I was a DJ. I was hungry. I was trying to get in, trying to figure it out, and trying to get in. And I was like, okay. I remember meeting certain people that they saw me that I was intrigued becoming, a good DJ. So they gave me a shot of. They said, why don't you come to the studio? Back then, this studio existed called Platinum Island Studios on 4th Street in Bond. Between 3rd and 4th Street, I think it was. And this was in New York City. And being an assistant engineer, changing wires and meeting all these people, I got to meet so many artists from Tribe Called Quest to, oh my God, Run DMC, Wu-Tang Clan, Shaka Khan. Wow. I mean, the list goes. CNC Music Factory. Wow. I got to meet so many people from that. And then a lady by the name of Suzanne Mates gave me an opportunity. She said, listen, we're going to start this party on a Friday. Would you be interested in DJing our party? I said, I would love to. She saw something in me. She's like, we're going to give you a shot. I said, I was a little kid. I said, sure, whatever, And literally, it was an opportunity, and I've met so many wonderful artists in the game that are, they're now they're like, the throwbacks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I got to meet, I got to do these showcases and DJ in between with the artists like Pete Rock and CeeLo Smooth, Yo-Yo. Okay. I don't know if you remember of Yo. That's probably not your time.
Probably, yeah.
So, but I did get to meet Run DMC. Back then it was called Jamalski. He used to be this hip hop reggae artist. You know what I mean? It was just we talk about '90s. So but I was a little kid, like I said, and you know I gave it a shot, and then I got my first. I started getting all this new vinyl, and I got my first Nas. It ain't hard to tell on vinyl. You know what I mean? And I was like,
Oh my
and then I they were feeding me all this material, and I just started mixing and blending and that's how I learned. You know, R&B in '90s. I got my shot. I remember doing this spot called Metropolis Cafe on 14th Street in Union Square, and this was literally after Palladium closed down.
Okay.
Palladium, it was a big spot. I was too young. I could never go in there. You know what I mean? So they didn't even allow me. My mom would have been like, "Hell, are you crazy?
Yeah,
You ain't going to the streets like that."
Yeah,
No, you know what I mean? It was only me and my mom. So I said, okay. But you know, at 18, you know, I got that privilege of working with Suzanne Mason. I was literally an assistant engineer at the studio, and I got so many artists, and then I would do the parties on the weekends. So that's how I got my startup and my fame. You know, and from there I came up.
I love that.
It was a blessing, man. And I told you, when I met so many artists, I could have gone a different route. I could have said I would have created music, which I never really did. I've been in the studio with so many artists, and to sit down and to try to produce, I would literally fall asleep. I don't know what it is. It just wasn't me. I love the being live.
Yeah.
In front of a crowd,
Yeah.
and that to me hyped me up, and that's how I learned. You know what I mean? And then watching the DJs perform, and you know, yeah, that was my vibe, and that's how I came up.
I like that. Do you remember what equipment you started with?
Wow, that's a good question. I want to say I bought. Oh God, hold on. Was it? It was definitely like I think it was I can't remember I don't remember the mixer, but I remember it was PV speakers.
Okay.
It could have been I know it was a Radio Shack mixer. I remember
Wow.
that. Radio Shack back in the days. Have you ever heard of
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
So we had a Radio Shack. It was even further than that, but I can't remember the name of the mixer. It was it was a pyramid mixer. I remember now. So it was a pyramid mixer. It wasn't, you know, it was just something that I had bought. I remember with family, and I had put half of the money in them, my family. You know, they helped out.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was a pyramid mixer. I bought it on Delancey Street. Back then, they had these stores down there, like nothing but equipment. It was dope. And then that's how I got my turntables, and I done come up. And then when you know, they told me, okay, well, if you do good in school, you know, if you crazy or up to par, then we'll help you get your turntables. I said, okay. And as a young kid, I literally ended up with 1200s a pair.
Wow.
But I paid half of it.
Yeah.
And I worked for it. You know what I mean? And the rest was, may he rest in peace, was my mom's uncle. You know, he helped me. You know what I'm saying? So
shout out to him.
I think, yeah, may he rest in peace, Modesto. But I never, you know, it was hard. You know, I mean, you know, he saw me as a figure that, you know, he taught me because I never had a dad, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, all right, you know, and he's like, he helped me as much as he could, and he was a wonderful individual, you know what I mean? But, you know, let him rest in peace. But yeah, that's how I started.
I love that. Now, moving through the streets of New York City, I know, like, you could do it in New York, you could do it anywhere. Like, how was it moving through in boroughs, like playing different boroughs, like Queens, versus you're playing Brooklyn, or you're playing in Manhattan? How did you learn how to adjust to
Well,
play?
I always stood in the Lower East Side, because I was born and raised in the Lower East Side. I ended up going from Brooklyn, came in with my mom, and then I came back to the city, and I stood in the Lower East Side. And I grew up there, and then 18, we're talking about 18 in the clubs, but I was always in the city. I was a city boy all my life.
Okay.
So I was in it was all lounges, a lot of lounges I've done, and underground lounges, I always did showcases heavy, you know what I mean? And that was always me. And that's how it came up. How are you asking me, how is it between each boroughs? As I got older, and I literally got into the game heavy, it would be difficult for me, because a lot of people didn't know who I was.
Okay.
And I was DJing in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, but I was from the Lower East Side. I was all about LES. They call it the sixth borough, but it was hard to get out because other people they didn't want to mess with me because they didn't know who I was. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Give me a shot, whatever. So it took a long time. It took a couple of years. And we're talking about late 90s. Then little by little, I started getting my gigs here and there. It was all lounges in New York City, I remember. And then little by little, I met certain individuals. And they gave me an opportunity to play in lounges in Brooklyn and Bushwick and that district. And I met a lot of rappers, like back then it was called U-Crime. It was these Puerto Rican cats,
Nice.
you know, and these guys, like, you know, they were like friends and family because I grew up with them. Like, I knew them, you know what I mean? And they used to come to my house and be on my mixtapes and, you know, like do, you know, just a small little studio, do our own thing, you know, and create vibes and music. And I literally started it, you know, I started trying to branch out in Brooklyn, and it was always in Lower East Side, and it was always in the Grand Street area. You know, Grand Street in Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn?
Yeah, like that district right there by Myster and all that. And that's how, you know, that's how I was. And then in the 2000s, I started branching out heavy, like in the beginning of 2000, I started branching out to like Queens, Sunnyside, Queens. And it was hard. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was really hard for me in the clubs because nobody wanted to give me a shot. So what I did was I started DJing in strip clubs. Yeah, so heavy. I was heavy in 99. Like I started learning, like I jumped into strip club. Then I was watching the DJ. I was listening, and they gave me a shot in the strip club. So I said, all right, I'm gonna see, you know, see what the difference. There is a lot of difference between being in a party and then being in a strip club. You know what I mean? So they were really heavy on the old school down south, you know what I mean? Heavy on the down south. So that was real big. And then of course the dance hall, that's where there was back then, you know what I mean? But I got my shot and I did a couple of spots, and I was doing strip clubs for a couple of years. And then finally, there came a time when I got older, and I was like, all right, well, you know what? I want to try to jump into clubs, and people would not give me a chance. Finally, I got an opportunity to start a lounge, and from one lounge went to another went to another, and that's how I got jumped in. So in the mid 2000s is when I literally started doing more lounges, you know what I mean? So back in the early 90s, what happened was I was working with Suzanne Mace, and I was doing one lounge, and that one lounge branched me out to another. But then after that, I got, I guess she didn't want to have a DJ anymore, so she kind of changed. So then I was out of a job. I didn't know, you know, but I was a little kid, so I was like, it's okay, I'll look for my way, but I was still in the studio. So I was learning vibes in the studio and then trying to figure it all out, you know what I mean? But I was always paying attention. My ear was always on the radio and listening. Like I said, I was hanging out with my older cousins in the basketball courts, and I would watch what they vibe to, you know what I mean, listen to, and then listen to the stations. So, you know, little by little, I just came up, and I was fortunate enough to literally to enjoy an open format situation, meaning I would listen to house music, I would listen to hip hop, everything. But back then it was a little bit different because we're going back to the 90s, by the way. So it was a lot of freestyle music. Freestyle went into house music, and it was a 80s, 90s vibe type of feel, you know what I mean? 90s vibe. So, but moving right along, later on, I got more into the urban culture, and I started enjoying more of the hip hop feel, and that's how I started learning more about the, you know, just many of vibes of records, you know, like whatever Red Alert would put in, or Chang Chai would put on the radio, or whatever, and I would just vibe to it. And Ultramagnetic MCs, Big Daddy Kane, Biz Markie, etc., Rakim, you know. And then, you know, my older cousins, they were really big on that. So I was like, okay, well, you know, I would vibe to that, and that's what I would play. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna listen to this record, and then I would figure it out and buy it, and, you know, and then once, like I said, moving forward in time, as I started playing the strip club, everything changed. It was all about urban music, it was down south music, and it was a lot of dancehall. And you know how it was in the 90s with all these rhythms. Heavy rhythms. And, so,
sorry to interrupt you, now in the strip clubs, you were bringing crates to the strip club?
I was.
Wow.
I was bringing, I remember it was expensive, so I would bring milk crates. I had milk crates.
You were doing it by yourself? Did you have any of your boys with you? Really?
I had, so I would have a...
Taking the train too? Or the subway?
No, I would literally take a cab, or I had my mom drive me. Or family,
No, for sure.
Or my cousins, they were like, yo, I'll give you money for gas. I'll give you a little something on the side. And whatever I paid at the end of the night, I got you. You know what I mean? That's how it was.
That's
you know
great.
what I mean?
Yeah, that's great.
So it's like, okay, whatever. And I will make my night. And I'll be like, here you go. This is for you. And everybody's happy. And I'm happy. I got my cut. She got a little cut. Or he got a little cut. My cousins. And everybody was happy. So, yeah, that's how it was. And I was carrying milk crates I will always, wherever I would DJ, I would take 6 milk crates.
Wow.
And each milk crate will be, I don't know, can't tell you, but it may be 80 records on each milk crate, and a lot of them were doubles.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And there were all the heaters, all the club heaters, whatever they wanted to vibe to. So it was always a dance hall crate, hip hop crate, and a little bit alternative house music, but you know the Latin vibe. You know, Ya tu sabes. You know that back in the day. So it was all, that's it. And then I had 6 of them, and I knew what direction I wanted to go to, and this is how I vibe. But then I was watching a lot of DJs come up, and I was like, all right. And then I started seeing these chrome boxes that came out. And that's when I had enough money to buy my boxes. I bought 6 of them, and I took that everywhere with me. Then one day, I hurt my back. I don't know what it was. I guess I pulled a muscle, and I was out of commission for 6 months.
Whoa.
I remember that. And then I couldn't, it was hard for me to work, but I was trying to work, but I just couldn't. The first 3 months I just couldn't work, so I had to take it more off. I said, listen, I can't work right now. I really hurt my back. And I was trying to figure out, and then here came Serato.
Wow.
You know, out of nowhere. And then I was like, what is this? And then I was like, boom. It became hard drives and computer laptops and all that.
It was perfect timing for you.
Right. But, you know, as I was hurt, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna learn this because I need to go this direction because it's just for me too much to handle, you know. And I started seeing, shouts to G Nice. He had put me onto Serato, and I was like, yo, how are you getting all those records? Saying that, oh, these are MP3, blah blah blah. I was like, I got you, okay. So now I had to record my vinyl into MP3 format on a hard drive in order for me to correspond it to Serato.
Yeah.
And that's how, from there, it's just, I've been a Serato kid all my life. I was a Serato DJ all my life, you know.
How was the transition from, so you were already welcoming to the digital age of Serato. So it wasn't like, oh man, this is how, like, was it a difficult transition learning how to use Serato, or?
It was in the beginning because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But little by little, you know, it was very, the first box was very analog-y, I want to say, feel.
I still have an SO1.
You do? I threw it out. I had it for a couple of years, and I said, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I was like, I needed the space. I said, I'm not going to, I threw so much stuff out. It's no joke.
Someone says it could be like a weapon. That's, when I was even at Serato in New Zealand, there was one of the guys, Sean, he was saying like, oh, you can use that as a doorstop. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you can't use this back. You can't use the old software anymore.
I don't know if you can. Maybe you could.
If you have an older Mac, like if you have an older computer,
right,
you can use it.
Right.
But like
You
the newer
definitely
computers,
can.
you can't use it.
Yeah, you can. Right. So, but as I started with Serato, it took time. That time that I was hurt, that 6 months together, and I had 3,000 songs that I built, you know, just recording vinyl, day and night, and I wouldn't sleep just to get these records, you know. And then I met peers that were on dealing with Serato, and I would work with them and at spots, and then they would give me an opportunity, and then they would also be like, yo, listen, we would share music little by little. That's how it started. I said, okay, and that's how I started growing my crates, and you know, and now, God, I can't even tell you. It's over a mil. Close to a mil.
I believe it.
You know, it's a lot of music, man. Because you gotta understand now, there's remixes on top of remixes of original records. They're like 8 remixes to that, different intros and outros.
Yeah.
And everybody's doing a remix now.
Yeah.
It's crazy, you know.
You know, so just even being able to adapt with that. I was gonna say, so since you were DJing in the 90s, 2000s. What would you say, even leading up to the pandemic, how have you feel things have changed since the pandemic of DJing?
I think it's gotten watered down a lot. First of all, there's a lot of DJs that try to come up and they willing to do a party for cheap or even do it for free just to get their foot inside the door, and they sound like garbage. They come in and, you know, kills the other DJ that's been around the block, you know what I mean? So it hurts because, you know, people eat off this, you know what I'm saying? Like myself, I'm a full-time DJ, right? So, but, you know, pandemic was hard for everyone. Yeah. And I was hibernated for a long time, so I became a streamer at that time. And I literally, I was an MP3 DJ, but then through pandemic, I decided to stay creative. I said, you know what? I'm gonna learn this thing called video DJing. And I started collecting videos, and then I had people give, you know, like I had people that I knew that were peers of mine that are very close and tight, and they were like, listen, we gave you this, please do not share because this is my personal joints is not. So okay, no problem, you got that, you know. And I always gave my word. I don't shit on people like that, you know what I mean? I'm a trustworthy cat when it comes to that situation. So I was very tight with my stuff, and they gave me videos, and I started putting all that together. Before you know it, I started having crates from like 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, then 2000s, and then shout out to all the wonderful people at Promo Only, and you know, my connections that literally I started getting all these videos from all over, you know what I mean? And that's how I built my crates. I'm now a video / regular
bro, yeah, literally,
DJ, you know what I mean?
You're literally a VDJ / DJ, bro. You can do a whole party with the videos, like strictly. Definitely. We're gonna put the Twitch link. So I mean, you already segued to Twitch. I was gonna ask you, how has Twitch been going? So from the pandemic, you started becoming a streamer, Twitch, and then people have the trains, everything. How have you been enjoying the journey of Twitch?
The journey is a beautiful journey because I make what I enjoy playing music. I tell my peers I love DJing. Even at, you know, now in life, later on, I'm still doing what I love, and it's been a blessing. You know what I mean? I mean, people know that, you know, especially the people that hire me, they know that I know how to read crowd really well. Yes. So they're like, okay, we're gonna give them an opportunity, and when they listen to me, they're like, okay, yeah, let's put them in. And it's been a blessing, I'm not gonna lie to you. From there, I evolved on Twitch, and I've also gained my crowd. I'm almost at 5,000 people, which is a beautiful thing.
Let's go.
I can't wait to be at 5,000 because it's been a long journey. That 5,000 alone has been rough, because as Twitch evolved, there's been a lot of, and it's sad to say because it's been a lot of hate in between with many groups, and people deal with their own little niche, you know, only certain cliques. So to build your public and your friends, or your what we call your diamond crew, you know, because they get VIPs in our room, you know, it takes time, and to build from zero, and then being in other rooms, and they want to know who you are, and then if they feel like it, they'll come into your room and they come support. But the support has been good it was good through pandemic. Then it started getting watered down, and it's been 5 years later. You know what I mean? My journey's been rough, I'm not gonna lie to you, but I love to play. So, you know, you can have 5 people I can have 5 people all the way to 100 or more, and I love playing. I've had my share of many people, you know, I remember when I started, I had 4 people, you know what I mean? And from 4 people, it ended up being 8, and then 8 to 15, and then 10 to 20, and then it went up. You know, now I'm at, I want to say around 45 to 60 people. You know,
let's go, baby.
But it's, like I said, the journey still, it doesn't stop. You know what I mean? Aside from that, on the weekends, I'm working my regular job. I'm DJing. You know?
You're an active DJ.
I'm an active
DJ. A working
club.
DJ,
Right, so I'm working Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, sometimes Sunday brunches. And then I'm working, you know, I'm working on Twitch. So I'm doing both. And I don't mind it because I'm a single parent, and I'm single, so I stay focused on music. Yeah. I don't like to deal, and it's sad to say, but, you know, I don't like to deal with reality. Like, you know, I know there's so many things going on in this world, and I get it. But I'm focused on my music, and, you know, I'm very strong-minded when it comes to my music, and, you know, that focus, man. And I'm always like, when it comes to music. I want to hear many different styles of many different artists, and then see what they have, what albums that they put out, and then what's my favorite out of them. Just start creating all these crates and putting them together. You know what I mean? Old school albums or whatever, new school. It could be people from, especially now we have people from doing the Afro beats. You know, so that's been a big trend now, and heavy, and I'm learning little by little, and I'm watching all these videos. You know, and so I put it together. Now my job is double because now not only do I have music crates, I also have video crates. Oh, so it's double the work.
Double, yeah.
But I only pick up hits. I'm not doing anything below. Back in the days, I used to do underground heavy because I was an underground kid. I used to love when I was a little kid. I used to love Beastie Boys. Yeah. You know, I used to love Company Flow, and these guys were so underground. People was like, "Who the hell is that?" But then Company Flow was a group that would literally make beats with their mouth, and they were the rappers. You know what I mean? And they would record that, and then they would play the mouthpiece, and then the guy was rapping. It was just crazy, and literally made beats on turntables while the guys were rapping.
That's dope.
Stuff like that, you know what I mean? That was always my thing because I was an underground kid, and then I kind of like branched out from that, and I wasn't really making money with that. So I said, I want to make some bread.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? If this is what I'm going to be doing. So I said, okay, let me go mainstream and start playing. I started playing Young Yeezy, Jay-Z, first Nas, and all that. So that's how I saw that this is the direction to go. But it's been a blessing because through all that, I've played in, I played at radio stations, believe it or not. So it's been nice. I'm not going to say, I would say I had my opportunity in Newport's College.
Okay, that's what's up.
I got my boys, shouts to Giz. He plugged me in, and then I would do little gigs here, a couple of radio stations upstate, and then being in the early 2000s, I got involved with a group called the Bomb Squad DJs. I'm the OG from that group. Shouts to my squad, which is now called the Mix Syndicate DJs. So we are on a radio station now. I'm on an FM station in Northern California. So 95.7 to Beat FM, Northern California. And I'm doing that radio station right now, FM radio.
Nice.
And then, but it's more for promotion. It's not, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't get paid off that. Some people do, of course, people that have been around the block more than me, of course. But it's been a blessing to keep my ears to the streets, and that's how I learn. How to
keeps you sharp too.
Yeah, big time. But I think what has really kept me sharp is Twitch. Because I've evolved to like something just now with all the blends and easy with the stems, so now you could create your own blends and mashups and just different. So I've been very heavy on that because I've been just trying to figure it out and just watching crowd. And people like old school, mid school, 2000s mid school. They love that heavy in the club. So, with the new music comes out, a lot of the new stuff, it's very hard to bring to the table because people that are there in their 30s, they don't really want to hear, unless it depends on who it is. Like you could play a Travis Scott record, but you can't play like, it depends, like I said, what it is. It all depends. Like even, like you have a Nav shirt on, certain groups don't like Nav, but then certain people do like Nav. They know because they're from that era. I mean, they're from that era, they're from that group, they're from that town, hometown, Queens, whatever, Brooklyn. It is, even, and their styles is different. Every borough has a little different style. You could be in Harlem. Jim Jones is different. Jim Jones been around the block for a bit. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I mean, the Dipset era compared to the new era, which is different than like Nav Group and Meek Mills and all that.
No,
so
for sure.
Different,
No, for sure. Like the politics of like DJing in New York City, how have you been able to navigate that? Like some people gatekeeping from getting to get to spots and things like that.
Well, I stay away from all that.
Okay.
I don't deal with all due respect to everyone. I just, I find my own path with certain individuals that they know who I am. I've been around the block, so it's been like they know who I am, so they're like, all right, let's put them in. If they need me, they'll fill me in. But sometimes I'm booked, I'm doing another spot, so, just like every other DJ, we put him on the roster on the calendar, we give him that night is for him, and that's it. I do me for me, I'm all about Myster when it comes to my situation. and people know that when I come in, I do my job and I do it really well. It's been a blessing. I'm not saying, it's just, you know what it is? It's not an ego thing. It's just, I've been around the block and I know how to play for a certain type of crowd, whatever crowd. You know, it could be a young crowd, 21 and over. It could be a 30 and old, 40 or 50. You know, once it goes to the 60 years, it just gets too oldie for me. It just gets hard.
Yeah.
But I can handle myself.
Yes.
And it's been a blessing.
That's great, man. What would you say, like, if you were to, like, your legacy, like, say, like, looking back at your legacy, are you happy with what you've done so far?
I could do much more.
Okay.
I think I can definitely do much more, but through being a DJ, I'm also a family man. A lot of people don't know, but I'm not married. I'm single, but I do have 2 children. You know, and I've never had a dad, so I've always wanted to be there for my kids no matter what. And I said to myself, you know, I have a good heart when it comes to family. And I know that, you know, how not to have a parent in your life is it makes you kind of like abstract, but then at the same time, you try to find yourself, right? As a teenager, you're like, okay, God, you know, and then mom is there, but mom is cool, but you need that male figure, you know what I mean? And we just don't have it. So like, okay, well, you know, we got to figure it out, you know what I mean? And I was blessed enough to have a mentor, like I said, my mom's uncle, and, you know, may he rest in peace. And then, you know, I found my way, you know, and I'm blessed. I'm not gonna lie to you. You know, I'm a good dude. You know, I never followed a bad path. It was all about the hunger for getting that bread and always
getting those vinyls.
Yeah, exactly. Well, people have tried to make me go left field and you know, going to trying to sell drugs, this and that. That was never my thing. You know what I mean? I don't use it. I don't none of that. You know what I mean? But I was never about that. It was all about the music. Talk to me about music, and it's sad to say. And I know some of you guys are gonna be like, "Damn, I don't even like sports that much. I don't.
No,
I'm not into sports like that.
It's all good. It's all good.
You could talk about a certain person, you know, but I can't even tell you. But when it comes to music, it's all about the music for me. I'm all about music. I love music. I can be playing at a sports bar, DJing between commercials, and know exactly, you know, because I have all the skits and stuff for the games. But I'm all about music.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to the craft, it's all about. So I remember when I started, I was like, okay, this is the only gig I could get here, this part, by playing. Then let's do the sports club. Let's do it for now.
Yeah.
And to see how that vibe goes. And here came the Grayson. And that's also when we met each other up in there. And then, so at Grayson, they gave me a shot. But it wasn't the owners. It was another DJ, and he had, you know, it was his spot, and they were like, listen, and he would book the DJs there, so he would give me a shot. I said okay, and you know, I evolved with him, and we became good friends, and from there, you know, at Grayson, they appreciated me. They really liked my flow, and I was different than everybody else because I know the old school era really well. So I would play the old school mixed with the new style together, and I could play for many type of genres, many type of for old school and new school together in one. You know what I mean? And that's how I would do my thing. And I know I watch crowd heavy. You know what I mean? So that's how I learned how to play. And then they enjoyed me because I play in between, and I bring a lot of heavy. I'm very aggressive when it comes to music playing.
Like that.
So. Only because I want to make sure that your soul, when you're dancing, gets that dance. It's like, yo, I want you to feel my vibe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's been a blessing because I'm a mic controller, and I learned it from DJ Suave, which was back in the strip club days, and I used to hate the mic. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I don't know about you, but certain individuals hate getting on the mic.
Yeah. Once you get comfortable,
I wasn't comfortable. I was shy as hell.
Yeah, but once you do, it's your tool.
Right.
It's a tool.
Right. And then Suave is the one that taught me how to get out of that. And Suave is Lumi D's DJ back in the 90s, which is the artist. So I used to open up for him at Bada Beans, which is now
it's the
Club Pleasures in the Bronx.
Wow.
So I used to play heavy in the Bronx. I forgot about that. I forgot to tell you because, like I said, I did strip clubs for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I've been from Crazy Horse to Rivieras. I had a residency at Rivieras back in the 2000s. And I was, I've been around, you know what I mean? Just doing, but I couldn't understand how to play down south until I hit the strip clubs, and that's when I was like, yo, this is what they want. And I learned, and then before you know it, it became trap. And trap is what it is now. Nice. And I can play from the latest traps all the way to the classic traps. It's not a problem. But and be very aggressive with it. I see a lot of DJs, sometimes they like to play music, but just to play music. But it's how to bring in the music and how aggressive do you want to get, and can you keep that vibe going for how many hours?
Talk about it.
You know what I mean? And I'm sure like a lot of DJs get tired, and I've learned how to try to keep elevated as many. I've done up to 8 hours.
Wow.
I've done up to 10 hours.
Wow.
But 8 hours would be my max, and that's when after the 7th hour, I kind of start feeling it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I'm like, can I order some food or something? Because I need energy. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's all about energy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now it's all about energy. If you don't have that energy in the crowd, it's depending on what type of crowd too. If it's urban or it's Latino, you got to be in there right. If not, it's just not gonna happen.
Oh yeah.
So, I play open format. I could play all urban. I could play house music from many 12 different type of forms of house. And then when it comes to Latin, I could play dembow, merengue, típico, throwbacks, all of the new stuff, but in between reggaeton, tropical, all of that together. And then, but when you put all that together into a mashup party, and that's what it is now. That's
what they get when they book DJ Myster.
That's what they get. But that's what it is now. It's all literally, open format vibe. You know what I mean? Not on Twitch though.
Yeah.
And I've started late to notice that because I was very stubborn in playing what I want to play. But Twitch vibes is different because you have an older crowd there and they want to hear the throwbacks heavy, the 2000s heavy. Because you have to understand though, those people on Twitch are not the same people that might be out. Clubs.
Yeah, that's facts.
Who goes to the clubs? The young kids, the younger crowd generation. The older crowd generations are always on Twitch because they're always home or they're working from home. So they through the vibe through the day, they check your station out or they check your channel out, and they switch through stations like anything. But if I'm lucky enough to get the supporters to come back and vibe with me, it's a blessing. You know? So I'm always thankful for that. Shouts to my Diamond crew up on Twitch.
Hey, let's go Diamond crew.
Yeah.
What advice would you give a younger DJ that's just starting right now?
If you're gonna do music, make sure you finish school, finish college. Very important. Finish college and get yourself a day job enough to support your habit, because DJing is expensive. So if you could do both, which is great, nothing wrong with that. We all have a niche, right? We all have an entertainment, like, what do you like to do? Some people like to play sports and they have a regular day job.
Facts.
Martial arts and they have a day job. You know what I mean? It's, you want to be DJ, you can do it, but my suggestion to you, in order for you to get your foot inside the door, it takes a long time. So make sure, do not forget about yourself, being educated correctly. Okay, because I never finished college, but I did have some college in my life. So, but I took a leap of faith and just literally went straight into music, and I've been doing it ever since. But, I'm in a time in my space, in my time in my life that things are starting to change for me. I'm getting older, I'm not getting any younger, so you know what I mean? So I'm trying to figure it all out at the same time. But right now, I'm still vibing in the clubs. It's my 9 to 5. And let's see where direction goes. You know what I mean? I branch out and as much as I can with different people. And I'm not trying to be in one spot. I'm not trying to be just in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, in Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx. I'm trying to branch out to Connecticut. I'm trying to branch out. I've played even in Croatia. Wow. big shout outs to Fat León, Croatia. I was there for before the pandemic. I was at Fresh Island Festival.
Wow.
I opened up for Tory Lanez.
That's dope.
But he never showed up. Tiger was there, but he never performed. Shinsia was there, but you know, it was that vibe. It was because Europe, especially that route, is a lot of Afrobeats because they come in from London, from the UK,
Yes.
that part. So then they come in from London and they come in they go to Croatia, you know, and Croatia is all about the island, the beach, and now it's all about house music over there too. Wow. Their music is so different compared to New York. Wow. You know, over there you have people from France and the producers, the music is gorgeous over there, so different. The house music especially is so vibey, different, like Defected House, Todd Terry, Little Louis Vega, they all know because they all play out there. It's so different, you know what I mean? Urban style. But over there, urban style, they want to hear the throwbacks, the 2000s. They know about the new stuff, but they want to hear the throwbacks. Yeah. It's all about the throwbacks back there. You know what I mean? It's just different.
Throwbacks will keep you in business, bro.
I see that all the time. But the thing is, how you deliver the throwbacks is the question.
That's very true.
Because a lot of people, they're like, I don't want to hear this old school stuff. It's like, yo, that old school DJ, why is he playing this stuff? You know, you got to know how to deliver it correctly. Correct. And what records to play. You just can't play anything. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's definitely different from Twitch and being in the club. It's a different feel, different vibe, different records to play. Because just like in a club, you can lose a crowd. You can lose a crowd on Twitch.
100%. 100%.
You know, or even on YouTube, as I'm sure you play. So you could play the. One, it only takes one record.
One record for someone to switch off.
People leave, switch off, and they go to a different channel. Or once you play in the club, you know, I'm like, now you could just bar hop anywhere. So they go to the next spot around the corner.
Literally, yeah.
We're like, let's go listen to this kid. You know, he's playing all the hot shit, you know, new shit, and then it's a different vibe. You know what I mean? So you just got to know what to play at the right time with the right crowd, and got to watch the crowd heavy. I do recommend the young DJs to always watch what you play. A lot of people, they claim they know what they play, but when they're playing, you look at them and it's like, yo, you're playing the wrong records. They're not really hyped in, you know what I mean? Or you're not really being too aggressive. And it's, you know, you need to be focused in order for you, you know what I mean? And it's a consistency. It's a consistency of aggressiveness, facts. And it's not only 30 minutes, not 1 hour, not 2 hours, not 4 hours, probably even more than that, or maybe less than that, but in between, you know what I mean? You got to be aggressive, you know what I mean? And know everybody's out. You want to keep those people on the dance floor.
Yeah, right? that's always the goal.
That's always the goal.
That's always the goal. You know, management's happy, and then just it's a good look for you, and even someone else is there, might get booked somewhere else. So, you know. And lastly, where can we see DJ Myster going? Like, what's the plan, or what is the projection?
Well, that's a good question. I'm trying to go into production. I'm learning more into the production right now because I want to drop material before I ever retire.
I love that.
You know what I mean? So I want to drop some material, and then also I'm teaching my son because my son is on the come up. You know, in a couple of years, he'll be out in 2032. So. All my material, whatever I have, is all his. You know what I'm saying? Because he has the same volumes and crates and my connections, everything. But, you know, he's the next come up. And I will be more into the production era and trying to see if I could go that route. But no matter what, at the end of the day, I'm a parent. I will never be, you know, I will never stop being a parent. You know what I mean? Because I'm focused with that. But, I can't tell you whether or not I'm going to retire tomorrow because I don't know the future. I love playing music at this moment, and if there's an opportunity for me to play and they give me an opportunity to play, and when they listen to me, they enjoy it, then they'll give me the shot. I'm doing it.
Let's go.
And it's simple. So until then, I'm here to stay.
Let's go.
But, you know, you have to also watch it because, you know, as you get older, some people, you don't want to drop dead, you know, on stage. You know what I mean? You got to be careful. So, because it's all about aggressiveness. It's all about keeping the hype going for many hours. So you gotta watch how you play it, when you play it, and how to bring it in, how to bring it out. You know what I'm saying? A lot of DJs, they're hyping for the first 45 minutes, and after that, it just start winding down, and then you start people saying leave, you know, they take a break to go get a drink, and that's what it is. And
learning how to pace yourself is definitely
yeah, it definitely is.
Definitely an art.
Right, but if you could keep the energy going as much as you can, that's always a good thing.
Yeah.
But I've done it so much that I'm used to it already, you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, I know what to play, this, and that. Like I just did this spot called in Jersey called Concourse.
Yeah.
Right, and it was my first time playing, and they were like, bro, you gotta come back. Your energy is you're so different, and they really love the way I play. And I'm open format, but the way I play was a lot more of a Latin style because that's what's coming in heavy. So, you know, they were like, man, come back because your energy is different, and you know, shouts to the Connect. You know,
I love that.
Me there. So I'm always, I'm coming back. You know, shouts to Jersey, by the way. Jersey, shouts to you. Thank you for having me here today,
hey, man.
Of course, for the interview.
Lastly, where can the people find you? Your socials?
Okay, so my social is The Real DJ Myster, DJ MYSTER, which is written slang. It's supposed to be Myster, but it's Myster, and people get confused because that's what the name is. It's Myster. So it's you can catch me that on Instagram, my Facebook, my other anything else, my threads, whatever. It's all DJ Myster. Please be careful with DJ Myster on Instagram. That's not me anymore. That he got hacked.
Okay.
So, you know, anybody that goes that direction, that's not me. That's somebody.
We'll link it below.
That may be careful.
We'll link it below.
Yeah, for sure. The Real DJ Myster. And then my Twitch channel, of course. And now I'm on LFTG, which is a new app strictly for DJs. So I'm on that channel too. So, but you could cross over and you could literally multi-stream now, you know,
that's
with
perfect.
all these offers, you know what I mean? So, but you can catch me on Twitch during the week, heavy, Mondays, Wednesdays, 12 p.m. lunchtime, you know, and then 3 p.m. on Thursdays for the Throwback Thursdays Raid Train. Then back in the clubs, I do lounges or nightclubs from Thursday to Sunday. So you know what I mean. That's it, and more to it than me. So you can
check them out, baby.
Please do. I appreciate my .com is djmeister.com, and whatever info, my Mixcloud, everything's there.
djmeister.com. That's where you can find everything out.
Thank
my
you,
brother. Thank you so much for
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Yo, I appreciate you.
Thank you for the interview.
You already know what it is.
Because I will tell you, it's very hard for certain individuals, like you know, that I deal with, that they know me. They never give me that interview, and you did. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you. And we're homies, so we know each other.
We outside, baby. Yo, DJ Myster, don't forget to check out his socials. And don't forget to check out our mix out here. Thank you guys for tuning in. DJ Julz. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys.